right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live. Here with you on a Monday. Mike Carver and Doug Kezirian here with you. Of course, part of Betting Weekly Studios, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Great to have everybody with us as we start a new week of Betting Weekly Live. And Doug, happy Monday. It's great to see you. We've got Monday Night Football. We have got NBA. We've got pucks. We've got college rack. We've got tons of things going on tonight. And what a week we had last week. And we finished it off Friday night with 4 straight daily doubles. Fire last week, Doug.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to see it all kind of play out late in the evening. You had your USC play, which, you have you have the diving play by the quarterback right before halftime to force the touchback fumble. And then obviously they pulled away late. Northwestern brought in the oars, knew they didn't have enough. So that was a nice way to conclude. And Miami Heat were up 51-31 at the end of the first quarter, a franchise record for Miami in terms of points in the first quarter. And then Charlotte rallied. Shorthanded Charlotte comes all the way back, takes the lead, but too much heat. They pull away down the stretch, and we cash 4 straight of them. As you mentioned, Mike, I was the weakest link last Monday. You got your best bet. I did not. So we prevented us from having a sweep of the week. But 4 of plus 250 or better will pay the bills and then some. So most people don't like Mondays at work. We do because we want to stay hot.
We had a monster week. And let's just go and keep it going here on a new week of Betting Weekly Live with a lot to do. Of course, we always kick things off with the opening line from the weekend. There are a couple things we could probably go with here, Doug. AFC, do we have to start believing in the Patriots, Chargers, Broncos, and Colts? But there's a coach who got fired today. So I feel like that's kind of where we need to start things off. Another coach gets chopped. It's Brian Daboll of the New York Giants. And why not, Doug? I mean, you lose another double-digit fourth quarter lead on the road this year. I guess eventually 21, 41, and 1 in 4 seasons as the coach. And I can tell you here in New York, everyone was trying to get him out the door the last couple days, even before yesterday. So Daboll's out.
Yeah, I understand it. And this is the first time that I can remember. I'm trying to think of others where the coach understandably was fired, but I actually think he's a good coach. I think he's going to get hired again. I think he's going to get another opportunity. I think he has competency. Remember, he was the OC in Buffalo when things were working well. He knows what he's doing. I just think he probably made some first time mistakes the last couple years. And I think, once he can play armchair quarterback with himself and gets a chance to get back, and I think his second stint will be much better because he understands the new age. He understands fourth downs and timeouts and all this other stuff, and he's a no-nonsense guy. So I think he has the right makeup and the offensive background, which was what teams like. But blowing 3 games this year when you have the win expectancy in the high 90s in terms of percentage is unacceptable. Yesterday, I said at the time, they were on the Chicago 39-yard line, and they had 4th and 6. And they were trying to bleed clock and timeouts. They should have gone for it. They punted to the 9, so they gained 30 yards. But that was the kiss of death with that defense and things like that. So you just can't make those types of mistakes. Obviously, losing Dart is the key for probably the key. We don't know because he blew other games. We blew other games where he had Dart and lost, but that was a key factor in yesterday's game. I'm annoyed. I feel bad because I think he could be good. I really do. And frankly, I think he is like a good fit for the New York media, and he found his quarterback and all that stuff. But ultimately, like, it wasn't just this one game. So it's too bad. I thought he checks a lot of boxes, I think, what Giants fans are looking for. And as we've seen from a lot of other franchises, when you fire a coach and go get a new guy, there's no guarantee it's better, right? There's no guarantee it's going to work. And maybe you screw up the Jackson Dart timeline because the next hire, it's a learning curve for that situation, right? So it is a bummer. And I understand it's a win now mentality, and we see this with college in terms of the buyout. All these places can afford it, so it's not an issue of the money. I just think he had a lot of good things, so it's too bad it didn't work out. But by no means am I like appalled that he was fired. Like, I get it.
I think I'm more towards I'm surprised that Joe Shane didn't go with him,
Right.
especially since Joe Shane, there's like a clip that's made a lot of circulation here in the New York area, Doug, from the draft this past April, where Joe Shane is pretty much letting everyone know that Jackson Dart was Brian Daboll's guy. Like, he sounded like he was trying to put out there, like, if this doesn't go well, this wasn't on me. Meanwhile, that's the one thing that has gone good for the Giants this year, is that they've found their quarterback with Jackson Dart. So I'm a little surprised, Doug, in that aspect, that Joe Shane gets to, and all reports say he's going to be the guy who picks the next head coach. So I guess he gets to hang around.
Yeah, these GMs have been sort of skating by. Finally, the Dolphins got rid of Chris Greer. He's been there since the mid
Yeah.
2000s, and he's been in a just overseeing a train wreck left and right. I don't get it. I don't know the full intricacies. I do have some sources in other organizations that I text for context and background, and some other people in the media. But you guys know how it is, and anywhere the day to day is different. You can't get every you're not bugging every like
Yeah.
room in every office, right? There's just so much more to it. And then as these people log more years, then you're in their weddings, you see their kid, you're the godfather to one of their children, and then it's just really hard. Then it's all sort of incestual is the wrong word, but it's all like interactive and in these little circles, and they're all sort of helping each other in all this world. That's why you see all these recycled coaches and everything. It really is mind-boggling, the stupidity that is done out there. And I talk about the timeouts and stuff because those are math things; they aren't really football technique things. But a lot of times there's just mistake after mistake, and I just wonder in like 50 years, are they going to look back like, can you believe as late as 2025 teams weren't doing this? Stuff that seems so obvious if you've played any sort of Madden football games.
Yep.
But we don't have to go down that route. It's baffling. But I will say, I tweeted this last night. What the Chargers did at the end of the first half in terms of milking clock on offense
Oh,
from like the 30-yard line on was an absolute clinic. Like, I want these other coaches to watch that you don't have to throw. You do plays that have the same likelihood of gaining 6 yards, 7 yards. And it was just they scored a touchdown with 14 seconds left. Like, that's how you do it. Now, sometimes it doesn't always work that way, but you have to approach things optimally and give yourself the best chance to succeed with the clock in mind. And I thought it was just so well done. But I think that's how every team should be doing it these days.
and the Giants, of course, now, after firing Dable, will be home this Sunday for the team that we're going to talk about next, the Green Bay Packers. And that could be a tough scene for the Giants on Sunday. Mike Kafka is going to be the interim head coach, and he's going to get an opportunity. So Giants Packers in the swamp this week, Doug, for the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've heard the new coach bump or however you want. Like, teams typically play well after they fired their coach. Look what Florida did against Georgia, and
Mhm.
then the next week Florida got boat raced. We just saw against Kentucky. I'm a little apprehensive here because I expect Jackson Dart to miss this game with the concussion protocol. So Russell Wilson stinks. And and we're going to get into this game, but I like the Eagles tonight. So if it's the Packers off a loss going against Russell Wilson, I'd say be careful
Mm.
with the new coach bump because the Packers will have coming off a couple losses, right? I'm curious to see what they look like without Tucker Kraft. That's part of it too, as well. I'm not the biggest believer in Jordan Love, so I do see maybe under. I mean, a lot of moving parts here. I'm just not sold on Russell Wilson being the answer. Remember, they should have beaten the Chiefs when they had him, but he just couldn't do enough. And Mahomes, recovering the fumble right before half on Sunday night, so it's tempting, maybe a teaser, things like
Mm.
that, because I just think the line's going to move once we learn about Dart. And obviously, Packers off a loss might even increase this line. But if they look terrible without Kraft, so there's a little bit of games, guessing game here.
Yep. And let's get to them now, of course, tonight. The final game of week 10. The Packers will be at home at Lambeau for the Philadelphia Eagles. Fun one on our hands here. Now, this, of course, the last week when we talked about it, Packers were between 1.5 and 2.5 point favorites, 1.5 this morning. Now, a couple hours before kick, Doug, at Bet Rivers, Eagles -1 is where we are at with a total flat 45.
So this is really interesting, this game, for a variety of reasons. Let's talk side and total before we get into props. I like the Eagles side here. I agree with the steam. I didn't think they'd move to the favorite, but to me, that's what makes the most sense. I've never been, and you can take my receipts, and it seems crazy considering what he's making, but I think Jordan Love is closer to the tier of quarterbacks of Tua, Geno Smith, all these guys that I think are way overpaid than he is to the elite quarterbacks that are making similar amount of money. I think Love is not Dak. I think Dak's kind of the top of that middle tier, maybe the bottom of the top tier. And I think Love's in sort of the middle, and then it's like all those other guys that may not be starting quarterbacks in 3 to 5 years. I know people will criticize and blah blah blah. He's looked good against some bad teams. He just has a lot of back foot throws. He doesn't make the plays, and frankly, part of being the quarterback is to lead your team. And um, we all have that clip of Tom Brady yelling at his team at halftime on the bench, like, I didn't leave my wife and kids to be losing to Kenny Pickett. Like, I don't see Jordan Love having that kind of leadership. Now, Eli Manning was more soft spoken because they had Michael Strahan in the locker room to be the voice. I just think Jordan Love may not be a starting quarterback in 5 years or the guy we think. I think he's closer to that than he is leading to a Super Bowl win. With that being said, it's one game tonight off a loss. I expect him to be sharp because I do think LaFleur is a good coach, but I think the Eagles will be sharp as well. I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I think they're legit. I think they're still a contender. They're the defending champs for a reason. I think they'll be ready to rock. They took care of business last week. I think this is a big game for them. So I'm on Philly.
I'm on Philly as well, Doug, for pretty much all the reasons that you just said. I think they're the best team in the NFC. And I think that now, Doug, right, they really see the path to taking hold of this conference and once again having everything go through Philadelphia, right? The Rams and the Seahawks are going to beat each other up in the West. The Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikings all in the North. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be anywhere near them. The Eagles, no, they win this game tonight. And you don't say cruise control, but they know the path is right in front of them, Doug, to go and take care of business. So I'm with you. I think the Eagles are better. And remember, they handed them, these are pretty much the same teams. Beat them both times last year, including that playoff game in the first round, pretty handily. I like the Eagles a lot here. And I think that this total, these primetime games have been a little tricky for us. But I think that they can get over this 45 tonight as well with some points.
I would bet over before I bet under for sure.
Yep.
And I think I've felt this way with a lot of teams that have gone on to either reach the Super Bowl or got to it's a marathon, not a sprint. And a lot of these teams, especially if you played the Super Bowl last year, and we know the hangover applies to the team that lost, but sometimes they just know it's a marathon and aren't up for everything. So if you look at sort of how the season has unfolded for Philly, they were pretty ordinary the first month, right? They won the Cowboys game, but that easily could have been a loss, the opener. They go to Kansas City, Travis Kelce off his fingertips in the end zone. The Rams game, they were losing the entire game, played well the second half, and then obviously had the blocked field goal. The Bucks game was pretty wild, but they were in control of that one. And then it was just a wild game. And then the Broncos game, they blew in the fourth. The Giants game was a hangover game with Dart, kind of stealing the show. And then I feel like now they're back on track. They manhandled Carson Wentz. Then they smoked the Giants into retaliation. I feel like these teams that have expectations of playing late in the playoffs sort of hit their stride about late in October, early November. We saw that with the Chiefs, a couple dominating games back to back, and I think we're seeing it now with the Eagles. I think the Eagles are sort of in their best version of themselves right now.
I agree. Let's do some props for tonight. I like two Eagles on my side of things. You've seen Devonta Smith kind of take
Well,
the
let me ask
lead.
you. Let me ask you this. I'm going to cut you off because I think this applies to all props. It's not even just rushing props because there's a domino effect. The Packers were the team that led the charge for the tush push ban.
Ooh.
And there's been a lot of storylines and payback. And these coaches can be petty. Even when it was like National Tight Ends Day, all these coaches wanted to throw tight ends touchdown. So because it factors into Devontae Smith, it factors into all this. At what component, what role, if any, maybe I'm wrong, do you think the tush push sort of backstory and saga will play into this? I like Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Frankly, first touchdowns plus 550. But I have a feeling that Sirianni is as petty as they come, and he's willing to stick it up the Packers.
I agree on Sirianni. I think if there's probably, Doug, like a handful of guys around the league that you would say that about, that you think something like that would stick with them, and he's right at the top of that list. Because you could tell he seems like a guy that stuff like that bothers him. It sticks with him. You see how emotional he gets sometimes when they have big wins over teams he doesn't like. He gets all in. He's gotten into it with fans. I think it is something. But I agree with you on Hurts anytime touchdown. I think it's a good play most games with the Eagles anyway. maybe even
Right.
more so tonight. But would you say maybe rushing attempts, something like that? Would they try it even more tonight because of that?
I wouldn't put past Sirianni opening the game with a tush push. I'm serious. Like they're
He's
gonna
that
get 4
petty.
yards. They're
He's
gonna
that
get
petty.
4 yards out of it if the Packers aren't stuffing the field, like it is on the goal line. They're not gonna I think the wrinkles that they've added with the end around. Remember they did that earlier in the year where it's almost like a tight end setback, but it was like the fastest guy, and they
Yep.
did the handoff around the edge. I think everything's on the table first play of the game. I really do. Not to make a mockery of it, but just to show how much they're in the Packers' heads. I think it's on top of the dry erase board at their game. Whatever name they've given it, payback, tush, push, payback, whatever. Tush, push, pushback, whatever it is. So it's a great point on your end to do Hurts over rush attempts. When there's a fork in the road on whether to run it or not, I think they're going to be more inclined to run it. So yeah, I think there's line value. I mean, that's the stuff we're looking for in all of this.
Yep.
Betting value, line value. I think that's how it manifests itself. I think that's the stuff we flush out. And I'm serious. I would not be shocked if Sirianni lined up in it and then did a pass play from it just to get. I mean, it's all about getting guys on tilt, right? All of
Yep.
this stuff. You want to get your opponent on tilt. You want to be in their heads. And I think the first play of the game, I'm serious. I would do it, but I would maybe do a pass play just to kind of flex a little bit. Flex to show them what you got.
8.5's minus 105 to the over. 8.5 rush attempts. And they actually have an alt here on Bet Rivers, 10 plus at plus 150. So that's one more, right?
One more, yeah.
So plus 150 for 10 rushing attempts. If you think maybe there's a couple extra tush pushes from Sirianni tonight, maybe not a bad one that you want to go with. I do like Devonta Smith. He got over the number both times against the Packers last year. He's clearly kind of been the guy. Now, maybe that changes out of the bye. Maybe they all found ways to get A.J. Brown a little bit more involved. But 56.5 for Devonta Smith, that's where I'm at. And the other one for me, Doug, this guy is third in the NFL in receiving touchdowns. He's got the most touchdowns among tight ends, and yet they're still giving me in the 200s for Dallas Goedert. I'll keep taking it. Plus 215 for Dallas Goedert tonight to find the end zone.
And if you like the over, I mean, you're going to see points. I can't. There's no way I would, fade the plus 215 there. I think that's a really smart look. Like you said, he's been racking them up. I don't know enough schematically of what the Packers do and how it fits, defending tight ends. But I do know that Tucker Kraft being out is got to have a domino effect. From what I
Yeah.
understand, I think there's going to be a lot more dump off to the running backs. So I'm going to look at Josh Jacobs 4+ at receptions, not yards, receptions at plus 150. And the reason is, I say this all the time, but it's really important to remember this. Okay, odds makers don't like preseason games because you don't know who's going to play and whatnot. They don't like teams with 5 guys out in the NBA for load management. We don't know when injuries what effect they will have because we don't have data points, we don't have sample size. So in this case, the odds makers, the betting market doesn't know what the Packers offense looks without Tucker Kraft. Yeah, maybe a series or two, but there's not like a season long's worth of data to formulate props because that's what they use the stats, right? So I think there's huge variance with stuff like this. And I always like to lean into the variance. Like in the NBA playoffs, when a team's up 3-0, we have no idea how that fourth game's going to go. The team could be just rolling over 1 foot in Cancun and get swept, or the other way. The other team like can just relax, and the other team has some competitive juices. So I like to lean into the markets where it's top scorer, top rebounder, and you just don't know what you're going to get. So for
I
this market,
I
if
love it.
without Tucker Kraft, who's such a big part of it, I think if Jacobs, okay, would you rather get, 3+ receptions at minus 152 or 4+ at plus 150? I'm going
Yep.
to take the extra bang because what happens is the incremental increases occur because of other people. Like they know the value of obviously 3 versus 4 is, 33%, right? The increase from 3 to 4
Yep.
is 1/3 higher. But the true line should maybe be 4.5. We don't know. So I just want to take the bang for your buck, if you will, because it's such a blank canvas in this first game without Kraft.
I just hope too, Doug. Like we're due for like a nice, fun pinball machine type of primetime game. Like after last night, it was such a. The last
Oh,
couple primetime games have been brutal, right? Broncos Raiders Thursday was a snooze fest. Last night was pretty tough too with the Chargers and the Steelers. I know we had some good ones early in the year, but these are two of the best teams in the NFC. I think we can get some points. I know it's going to be cold. Who cares? Can we get a 34-31 game tonight, Doug, with lots of props? Let's go with the Eagles winning 34-31. Come on.
do you like the Packers to hang around and light up this defense? I don't know enough about the Eagles
Yeah,
D, right? Because that secondary changed so much from last year, but then they made a lot of moves at the deadline, right? Not necessarily the secondary, but their whole
yeah,
defense has been fluid throughout the year. Jalen Carter obviously got kicked out the opening night or that bizarre
right.
thing. But in general, it's a different look than we've had last year. But the Eagles have made moves as well. I don't think the Packers can go back and forth. I think the Packers, for them to hang in this game, they're going to have to at least get stops and win it with their defense, so to speak.
Bet Rivers does have a special for you tonight as well for Eagles Packers. Double helping Jalen Hurts to record at least one passing touchdown and at least one rushing touchdown in the Eagle Packer Monday night game, boosted from plus 145 to plus 185. We feel pretty confident about the rushing touchdown that he can get in there with a little tush push tonight. So why not a little passing touchdown as well?
Oh,
Plus
I'd
one.
feel more confident in the pass. One passing, I think we'll get.
Yeah.
The question is, and don't forget, he can tuck it from like the 10 on a scramble, right?
Yeah.
The Patrick Mahomes rushing touchdown, because Mahomes doesn't sneak. So do you get the Mahomes-esque rushing touchdown where he gets it and then beats the linebacker to the front pylon? That's the one we want as well. He's a beast. I
Yeah.
still think MVP. This race is wide open. All these people get so fixated. It's almost like the definition of insanity. And I'm going a little bit, off sort of topic here, but I am saying Jalen Hurts at 18-1 to win MVP is a good bet. So when people go on air at the end of the season and talk about the MVP, they make comments about like, God, can you believe that guy was 4-1 or now he's 50-1 or whoever it is, right? Some guy who was among the favorites this juncture of the season. And then they never remember that when they talk at this juncture of the season. So all the current guys, I mean, look, you have
Look at
five
this
guys
Taylor number.
at
Oh,
plus 650. But what did we tell you when it was 80-1? We bet it,
yep.
right?
We
Okay.
said that.
Just trust me on these futures market. Like I'm really good at the awards and drafts. Like my track record speaks for itself. So you look at this stuff, and some of this, if you're on the other side of the counter, is liability. So Josh Allen is there because he was the betting favorite, and people were betting him before the season because they didn't know
Yeah.
what they were doing. They're a bunch of amateurs. Josh Allen and stuff like that. Now, part of this market also factors in the rest of the season. I think it should factor in more of it, but people bet so much what's going on now.
Right.
And I keep coming back to it. Scotty Scheffler leading like one of those random tournament, or sorry, being like 5 strokes back going into the weekend of a random tournament, he's still the favorite. It's like, why is he the favorite? He's 5 strokes back. It's like, because they're factoring in there's 2 more rounds to play.
Yep.
So we're factoring in there's still a second half of the season. That's why some of these guys are near the top, like Mahomes, who's obviously would be nowhere near an MVP winner right now. So it's all about your believability of what's going to happen the rest of the year. And that's why I think Jalen Hurts has good value. He passes the smell test, obviously won the Super Bowl MVP. He has the numbers. He only has one interception, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think the Eagles are going to kind of hit that groove, like I mentioned a little bit ago, and finish with the 1 seed. So if Jalen Hurts is sitting there atop the NFC with the 1 seed and he's playing well and they like him, and yes, some of his touchdowns are vultures, right? Those 1 yard sneaks where he didn't get he didn't run it to the one like maybe Saquon did. But ultimately, he's still the quarterback, and it's a quarterback driven award. And it's 18-1. Now, tonight's big. If you want to maybe do half of what you would normally bet on this now and maybe wait till if they lose, then bet, you can also bet it in game at some of these places. I think Bet Rivers holds them up. So
Yep.
that's part of the equation as well. So these are all things to think about, but by no means should you be betting like Josh Allen now or Drake
No.
May or any of these people. Like this is the time of year where you only bet double digit or higher odds.
You can't bet Josh Allen now anyway, Doug, because he basically has me, you, Max, and Andrew as his receivers for the rest of the year. So there's just no way that you can bet
I mean,
Josh Allen. going.
we know voter fatigue is there, and they're 6-3. Like, come on. Like,
No
are they
shot.
going to win out?
I
He's
told
not going
you
to win it.
I told you last week, and I'll stay with it. I think Hurts is a smart one because they are going to be, I believe, the 1 seed in the NFC, and I think that these other AFC teams are going to eat each other. And this goes for winning the AFC. Like it's almost the same thing as you just said about the MVP. They still have the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens as the favorites, and a lot of that is either liability, etc. But when are we going to start? Who do we like? I can't believe it. The Colts, the Patriots, the Chargers, and the Broncos. They've all been better than the Bills and the Chiefs and the Ravens so far this year. But will it stay that way, Doug? That's what it comes down to.
And I mean, Lamar Jackson's not going to win MVP, even if they
No.
win out. It's just not going to happen. So some of these odds are
Yeah.
just out of whack, but it's because the betters are making it out of whack. It's not like the odds makers are sitting there holding that firm. It's like
Yeah.
the betting public's being the knuckleheads here.
Well, we got so good one tonight. Eagles and the Packers in Green Bay. Bet Rivers does have you set up NFL primetime first touchdown, second chance bet. Players who opt in on the Bet Rivers app or at betrivers.com will receive a second chance token for any first touchdown wager on each game day of NFL primetime games. See the Bet Rivers app or website for more details. I think you heard Doug say before, maybe Jalen Hurts for that first touchdown tonight. Bet Rivers might not be a bad place to go and look for it this evening. So there you go. We've got other things here on a Monday night for Betting Weekly Live, including the NBA. 9 games tonight across the association. And let's start with this one. The Spurs into Chicago to see the Bulls. Now, we talked a lot about the Bulls last week, Doug, because they gotten off to such a great start. But what happened to them? They hit the road. So now instead of 6-1, they're 6-3. But they're going back home tonight where they are getting 4.5 at Bet Rivers right now from the Spurs. 237 flat the total.
Undefeated at home, as you alluded to. And I got a text from a professional bettor last week who's more of like an arbitrage guy to math. He just kind of plays the screen. And he goes, "Are the Bulls for real?" He's like, "These line moves are crazy." And he just monitors the market more than anyone. And I didn't really know how to answer him. I said, apparently they are, and they're doing this without Kobe White. If they had started this way with Kobe White, I would have been like, okay, that makes sense. But they're doing it without him, which is even more baffling and makes you think it's fluky. I don't. I think it's crazy how Billy Donovan was gone. Like he was fired near the end of last year, but they closed strong. I want to say they won 15 of their final 20
Yeah.
regular season games. And mid-season last year, so before that run, they traded Lonzo and they made more of a commitment to spread and shred, pace and space, whatever you want to call these offenses, or chuck and duck. That's basically what they're doing, which fits into Cody White, but he's not. Kobe White hasn't been playing. So I don't know. I mean, the Spurs are an absolute beast. I will say the Pelicans answered them all Saturday night. I was so impressed. I was sadly watching that game on one of my screens, and I don't think it was a knock on the Spurs as much as like the Pelicans impressed me, and we'll get into their game. But I lean to the home dog here, but this does feel like a short number for Wembanyama, and now the De'Aaron Fox has returned.
Yeah, I think it's Bulls or nothing for me, Doug. I would want to take the Bulls getting the 4.5 at home just based off of how well they've played in their building this year. That's really just the only thing that would gravitate me towards that side of things with them. Elsewhere tonight, Lakers. They're on a little East Coast trip. They'll stop in Charlotte this evening against the Hornets, who have been brutal. No ball again tonight for the Hornets either. Lakers minus 8.5, 230.5 the total.
All right, so this is an interesting game. Like you said, we've been monitoring um, LaMelo Ball a lot because this Hornets team is just absolutely pathetic. So on our daily double, we faded the Hornets on Friday, but their pace was back, and I mean they still scored 31. Now they gave up 51. Some of that was just Miami shooting lights out. Lakers team total first quarter over is a great play. Lakers are coming off a loss. They've only had 2 other losses. So 3 losses total, and their other 2 they bounced back in great way. Now, Austin Reeves has been upgraded to probable. That doesn't mean he's definitely in, but he went from questionable to probable. We have Luka, thankfully, where there's no Gabe Vincent. And the Lakers are just playing great. And I think JJ Redick deserves a lot of credit. So against this farce of a defense that is the Charlotte Hornets, off a loss, I expect this team to be really strong. And as we all know, teams stagger their best players. So we're going to get Luca and Reeves to start, obviously, if Reeves is in. But, we're going to get one of those guys the entire 12 minutes. So I think it's a really smart play, team total, because the Hornets will push and make shots. There's a lot to like, but I think this is going to be an absolute track meet. I mean, I think this is an over. I think the Lakers do cover the 8.5, but it's a little high for me to get involved. I think Bridges is going to be he's going to play probably, but he stinks. 230.5 feels low. I think the Lakers named their score, but I think they'll get focus, effort, all that out of the gate. So I'm going to go first quarter team total over 30.5.
And yeah, prop for that game too, right? You can get involved
I
with the
do.
player
So
props.
thanks for reteeing me. So part of the absence of LaMelo, the domino effect. So Sexton missed Friday's game, but he is going to play this game. But Con Kneppel outplaying Cooper Flag, a different Dookie Shining.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely fantastic. Now he's about 6'4", 6'5", NBA ready, so to speak. And he's 20 years old. So he's kind of like more ready for the NBA than most of the guys coming in. His team total, his prop total of 17.5 is just incredibly low. So I'm on the over here, 17.5. He's getting the shot volume despite playing alongside Bridges. He had 23 shot attempts on Friday against the Heat. Now, some of that was just the back and forth nature of that game. So before that, he had 16 and 17, but he's had 9 or more 3-point attempts in 3 straight games, 8 the previous one. So he's getting his 3-point looks, high shot volume. He rebounds. He's playing 30 plus minutes. I think 17.5 should be like 20.5 in this game, maybe 19.5. So feels too low. He doesn't get as friendly of his whistles as I'd like, but when he gets them, he makes his free throws. He's 14 of 14 over the last 4 games from the charity stripe. So, you're guaranteed a couple points there, maybe more if he can actually draw a whistle. But I think this is going to be a game where he logs about 32 minutes, has 8 3-point attempts, and he's a knockdown shooter. So anytime there's a defensive lapse, like we saw against Miami on Friday, if he's open, it's in automatic.
Go to Dallas next. Back to back for the Bucks. They lost at home to Houston yesterday. Now they take on the Mavs tonight on the road. They are 2.5-point road favorites here. 231.5 the total.
Does this line stick out to you as like, what am I missing?
A little bit. A little bit.
So this was 2. I texted an odds maker and he's like, well, the Bucks played yesterday, are traveling. I'm like, yeah, but the Mavericks are putrid.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, but that doesn't mean the line should be 7. I'm like, well, I didn't say the line should be 7. I thought it should be like 4.5, 5. And now the market's starting to get there. There's even some threes popping up. I think the Mavs stink. They were lucky to win that last game in DC. They were down like 6 mid-4th and came back and beat the Wizards. I actually think that plays into the better of a, opportunity here with the Mavs. Sorry, with the Bucks here. Bucks lost yesterday against the Rockets, and so it's a team that's good, not great, but good, off a loss, and they're travel. But who cares? It's the Dallas Mavericks who stink. We saw what Dirk said. They can't do anything right. Klay Thompson's obviously been distracted. No Anthony Davis, no Kyrie, Cooper Flag running point. This is a pathetic team, and they can't match the firepower of the Bucks, who are starting 2 shooters. And Mavs want to play kind of drag it out games, but they're not good. They should have lost to the Wizards. Let me put it that way. I'll
Yeah.
take the Bucks minus 2.5 here.
Clay has been distracted. That's a good way to put it. Clay's been distracted. He's got a lot going on.
More than Bill
Clay.
Belichick
Well,
by their significant others. I think Clay is more the poster child for that than Belichick's got a couple wins here.
yeah, it's starting to turn it around. This game caught my eye, and I'm glad that you put it on here because I was going to bring it up to you. Now, the Suns are coming off sweeping the Clippers on both ends of a home and home, but they're still the Suns, Doug, and I still don't think you can trust them to lay 8.5 points, even though it's against the horrible Pelicans tonight.
So the Pelicans have been horrible, but a large reason for that is their lineups and things like that. Well, now they're kind of getting healthier, right? So they just have Zion out, and then Jordan Poole stinks, so we don't want him. I mean, he can score, but you know what I mean. But these other guys have been playing hard. Trey Murphy and Herb Jones are professionals, man. They're like fringe all-stars, okay? They're not all-stars, but they're fringe. Sadiq Bey off the bench, another guy who's solid. Kevon Looney, we know him from the Warriors. He's a professional. And then the rookies are feeding off that. Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears. So they have talent. Now the Suns do not. They have Devin Booker, who's fantastic, obviously. That goes without saying. But Jalen Green got hurt on Saturday or Friday against the Clippers, the one of the games. So he's out for tonight with a hamstring injury. So it's just Book. Colin Gillespie's been phenomenal. He has more three-pointers made than anyone else in the reserve role this year. He does not miss. It's crazy. But he's been on fire and really taking advantage of his opportunity, which you give him all the credit in the world. But like you said, they had back-to-back wins off the Clippers. There was heat there. Like Bradley Beal was complaining how he was treated in Phoenix, and the Suns went after them and all this stuff. And this is a giant flat spot, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I like the Pelicans first quarter. I think they're going to have the lead after one. They're playing well. They played the Spurs tough, man. They answered. They're going to have plenty of offense for this Suns team. So I like them first quarter plus 2.5, and I like them for the game plus 8.5. That's too many points.
Too many points. All right, a couple other rapid fire ones I'm going to throw at you here, including a few that caught my eye. Whenever I see a total of 247 and a half, I have to ask you about it. I mean, the Cavs and the Heat, they're gonna burn it past 247 and a half tonight, Doug?
I think we are. I actually kind of lean over. I'll tell
All
you
right.
why. What Spoelstra's doing is pretty impressive. He's taking all these guys and just maximizing their performance and almost like hockey line changes. Not Bam, and although he was hurt, but these other guys that you've never heard of, they're coming in for a few minutes and they just bomb threes, and they're doing a really good job of it. I seriously have been impressed with what Miami's doing. So, I mean, the Heat are still middle of the pack in terms of offensive efficiency. Cleveland, similarly, they're like 9th and 15th or something. But I think this game is going to be back and forth. I've taken unders in these types of games, and you're like, what am I doing? This is going to go 260. I really do think it'll be 260. But all you need is a minute and a half of, a couple misses, and you're all of a sudden you're way under. So I'm not involved, but I would actually lean over.
The Pistons were really good to me last week. I hit them against the Jazz and the Nets as double-digit favorites. Here we go again tonight. 12 against another bad team, the Wizards. Pistons have been good. I might go back to the well.
I wouldn't fault you. I wouldn't fault you. They're really good. They're the 1 seed in the East for a reason. The Wizards are 1-9 for a reason. But, they played the Mavericks tough, but they've gotten drilled by every other team, i.e. good teams. So I think that was more of an indictment on the Mavs than it was, on the Wiz. Wiz, without CJ McCollum, they'd be like all-time bad. But it's a big number, but I think the Pistons are up for it. Yeah, I'd lean that way.
Speaking of getting drilled, that's precisely what Minnesota did to Utah on Friday night in that NBA Cup game. They beat them by 40. Now they're playing again tonight in Utah. I know Minnesota played last night, so it's a second leg of a back-to-back, but 7.5? Your Jazz team tonight with those points?
Yeah, I'm actually eyeing the Jazz tomorrow against the Pacers. Battle of combined 4 wins. This is tricky. T-Wolves were in a great spot, drilled the Kings because they were awful. I can see the T-Wolves having some trouble here, messing around, the Jazz being more competent than you would think. I'm not involved, but I probably need more than the 7.5 I'm getting. I will say Nurkic rebounds. This could be the game where I think it could be a good bet on spot for a guy like Nurk, because I don't think the T-Wolves are going to live in the paint or anything. Although, didn't we just see this matchup? I'm sorry. So this was the game where I did the same game parlay and almost hit.
Yes. That was Friday night, the
Where you
40-point win.
go
And that
Gobert
basically
over.
didn't get it because the game was such a blowout. Everyone didn't play in the fourth quarter. It was
Yeah, so this is plus 235 if you go Gobert over and Nurk under. They're
go
all
back.
correlated.
Go back to
Mhm.
it. Go back to it. And finally, the Clippers got all kinds of problems, and they got
Don't
the
they?
Hawks in town. Hawks in town tonight. No Kawhi again.
Shocking. Kawhi's missed 43% of the games as of Saturday night. Excuse me, as of Saturday night since he joined the Clippers.
Check still clears for.
Yeah, and then the extra ones do too. They've lost 4 straight. They're a mess. I wonder if Teron Lue's distracted with all the stuff going on with Chauncey Billups and maybe his own issues with that. I can't lay 5 here. I think the
Nope.
Clippers have major. Clippers defense is terrible. That's the funny thing, because I do think Van Gundy's awesome, but that's been the key for them, is their defense has been so bad. They rank 26th, which is 5th worst in defensive efficiency. So Atlanta should have a field day scoring what they want, and the Clippers just don't have enough offense surrounding Harden and Kawhi on the bench. they'll get some, some decent buckets out of some guys. But if your defense is that bad, you need to make up for it offensively, and they just don't have the horses to do that.
They do not have that. So there you go. NBA tonight for us. 9 games should be a lot of fun. Doug, I know we talked at the top. Me and you have been on a good roll here on Betting Weekly Live. How about Nigel Seeley and the Betting Weekly tennis crew? They have also been on a run. Back-to-back women's tournament outrights. Added another outright winner on the ATP. They have hit Victoria Mboko at 13-1. Elena Rabinka at 8-1, and Lerner Tien at 22-1. Now, I'm not good with the tennis names, Doug, but I'll tell you, Nigel and the crew, 8-1, 13-1, and 22-1. That's all I need to hear with those guys getting it done. So nice job by them with the tennis guys on Betting Weekly Tennis.
Hey, that'll pay the bills. Well done is the right answer.
Tremendous job by Nigel and the guys on Betting Weekly Tennis. All right, NHL tonight. We've got pucks. Only 4 games in the NHL, including the Islanders crossing 2 rivers into Newark to take on the Devils tonight. That one, Devils now minus $1.67 at Bet Rivers. Total is a flat 6. I think you know what we're going to do, Doug. We like the over because it's an Islander game.
Sure.
They did their part on Saturday night at the Garden against the Rangers. They scored 5 goals, but of course the Rangers never score at home. So the over didn't come through, but the Devils will gladly score plenty of goals on the Islanders tonight. I wouldn't mind the puck line on the Devils either, to be quite honest with you. If you wanted to lay 1.5 at plus 150 for New Jersey tonight, I don't hate it if you want to get a little risky, but I think the over 6. This has got like a nice 6-3, 5-3 Devils maybe look to it tonight in New Jersey.
So the Islanders, 11 overs, 4 unders.
Yep.
11-4.
And and like I said, the other night was 5-0. They scored 5 goals, and the Rangers just didn't help. So they were on their way to trying to get a 12th, and the Rangers just couldn't do it. Speaking of the Rangers, look where they are again tonight, Doug. They're at home. They're at the Garden, where they have been. They haven't won. This is how bad Nashville is. The Rangers haven't won a game at home yet this season. It's the middle of November, and yet the Rangers are minus 205 at home tonight.
Why are they so bad? The Preds.
The Preds have had all kinds of problems. They've gotten it going a little bit here. Stamkos has showed a little bit of a pulse. The goaltending has not been there for Nashville. They made some real all-in moves last year with Stamkos and Marchessault, and nothing has worked out for them in that regard. But I can't go near this, Doug. These Ranger games at the Garden now are because one night they're going to bust out. They're going to bust out one of these nights at home.
Well, you think you want to catch the falling? Let me put it this way: they've played 7 home games. By my calculations, they're 6-1 to the under.
Yeah,
5.5 is a low number. But I went to the Predators game last Thursday. The game got a lot more interesting when I bet live under 5.5, and it got home.
If the only thing I would play in this game is the under 5.5. It's the only thing that I would go near with the Rangers and the Predators. Columbus is in Edmonton against the Oilers tonight. Oilers are a big favorite at home. Columbus has been out there in Western Canada. It feels like a month. We talked about them losing in Calgary last week. They're still there. 6.5 is a pretty big number. Minus 130 to the over. Don't really like anything there. But Florida in Vegas, the 4th and final game just after 10 o'clock East. Vegas has been playing some bad hockey lately. And the Panthers haven't been too good either, to be fair. They are not off to a good start this year, but I will gladly take the 2-time defending champs at plus 114 on the road against a team that's not playing well either. So strictly the numbers here for me, Doug. I want to take the Panthers, who are a pretty good team, with plus 114.
So as you mentioned, Knights have lost back-to-back, and they just haven't been strong. But typically in sports, when there's sort of, I don't want to say it's mid-season specifically, but it kind of is mid-season.
Yeah.
When like a rival / team that you have a bone to pick with, like the Panthers, winning the cup on their ice and things like, all that stuff. Is there reason to maybe think like this is the game that draws their best effort?
Not particularly for me. I thought they were going to play well against the Lightning the other night, and they did not do that at home. And you look at what the Panthers have been doing on this road trip in particular, which is the final stop, by the way. They lost to the Sharks the other night at the Shark Tank. They lost in Anaheim. They lost at the Duck Pond. They did win in LA. You got two ships that aren't going in the right direction right now. So I'm going to take the little bit of plus with the team that I think is a little bit better. So Panthers are a little bit better, get themselves a win before they head back in the other direction. Now, yeah, and man, Vegas has lost. Even they can't cover the puck line either. Panthers have been awful with the puck line too. It's a tough game, Doug. It's a very tough game tonight out at the
Yeah, and
T-Mobile.
there's not like total bad blood because again, the Knights beat the Panthers, but then the Panthers,
Yes.
I think it just brings out their best. I guess is a way to put it.
Panthers have recovered nicely since losing to the Knights in the Stanley Cup final by winning their own couple of cups after doing that. So Vegas and Florida, good one tonight in the NHL. Of course, if you like what you're watching, and as you should here on Betting Weekly Live, make sure you subscribe to the Betting Weekly Studios channel on YouTube and check out our other shows as well. Betting Weekly Dojo. Nigel Seeley and Neil Channing as they discuss betting trends in the Champions League and share bankroll strategies. Make sure you check that out. Betting Weekly Dojo on the Betting Weekly Studios channel. We ain't done. We got college hoops tonight. Another one of those weird nights where you have a ton of huge favorites, ranked teams playing nobodies with 25 and 30-point spreads. But we do have one pretty decent game on the card, Doug, in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where Mississippi State and Iowa State will get together. -5.5 for the Cyclones, 150.5 the total.
That's a weird game. Iowa State's been up and down. Coach TJ, and then Mississippi State, sort of the other side of things. So it's like something has to give here in terms of the matchup. People I talk to like the under here feels like a pretty high number, 150.5 for a college game that should be pretty balanced. I mean, it's lined at 5.5. That's certainly on the low side. So I'd be careful thinking we're going to see a shootout. Iowa State's got a very good defense as well, second in the country according to Ken Palm. So we could see a lockdown effort. And Mississippi State's got they're good in both offense and defense. So it should be a really strong, well played game. I just think with the quality of each other's opponent, I think we're going to see like defensive performance here. 150.5 feels like a pretty big number.
Lean to the under there in Sioux Falls, lovely Sioux Falls, South Dakota. As far as everything else, UConn's laying over 30 in stores against Columbia. You have got Seton Hall playing tonight, Pitt in Eastern Michigan. Miami's playing Stetson over 30 in that. Also in the 30 Burger Club, West Georgia, as they will visit UCLA tonight. That is a 34 that the Bruins are laying in Mick Cronin. 148 flat the total.
Anytime the Wolves get involved, I had to look up their mascot. So West Georgia Wolves catching 34, but I kind of like them. It's really a bet against UCLA. They've been lined pretty high in their first two games, and they've only won by, in the teens. Donovan Dent, I really like him coming over from New Mexico. This is a Bruins team that had trouble scoring over the years. Mick Cronin's awesome coach. And I like Dent. I just don't think this is a team that's fully sort of put it together yet. And they're getting everyone's best shot given the fact that they're ranked and all that good stuff. So I think West Georgia plus the points. Now, West Georgia does have a win, but they also lost to Nebraska by 33. So that gives me a little concern, but I think they're going to be really up for this game. 34 is a big number. I don't think Cronin's trying to drill this team. And I think he's fine with the double-digit wins. It's just too big of a number. I will say the teams they played well. I watched those UCLA games. It's not like they were incompetent or anything, but I thought Pepperdine played well against them. All things considered, they hit big shots, pressed things, but it's 34. It's too big of a number.
That's a very big number. These 30-plus point spreads in these college basketball games are very, very tough to get involved with. So there you go. A little Monday night college hoops action for you as well. All right, before we get out of here, Doug, we're obviously going to do a lot of college football all week long. Just a little something off the weekend where once again you had, Indiana surviving in Happy Valley against Penn State. You had Georgia, no problem whatsoever. Doug, I had a real rough early Saturday portion. It was rough for me between Mississippi State and Mizzou. There was But thankfully, Doug, they don't call it the bailout blowout for nothing, because Wake Forest and Hawaii late night saving the day for me on Saturday.
I did not do well on Saturday. It was my only negative day in like 5 days. I just got burned by the TCU game against Iowa State. Beck
Yeah.
was terrible. He threw for 100 yards. It's just, you had a punt return and all this other nonsense. Those games will get you. It happens, right? And football is awesome, but the units of scoring of 3 and 7 games can get away from you. I did win a MAC game. Some other games got away from me. I had a couple totals that, I mean, I needed one stop on 4th and 13 to win the under. Did not get it. If Cal goes for 2, which I needed for the push, but they got the sweet walk-off touchdown, but if that's incomplete, I push. Can't win them all, as they say.
You cannot. But we, of course, will look to a new week. We'll get into a bunch of the games tomorrow. Some futures things here. And you put this down, and it's so true. There's only a couple weeks left. Really 3 weeks of regular season. Then you get all the conference championship games. I have no idea who's going to win the Heisman. I don't care what that board says up there with Sayin and Mendoza. There are still other guys, I think, that can be involved here, Doug.
I think this is the most wide open a Heisman Trophy race has been. Not in that we don't have like a clear favorite. It's that there's like 8 guys that could win this thing. I really do. I've said it time and time again. It's worth repeating. The Heisman Trophy race is the most fickle there's ever been. It's like the little kid shooting baskets in the backyard who does the countdown 5, 4, 3, and then he misses. It's like, wait, there's a timeout. Wait, there was a foul. Wait, who's ever doing this race and voter, they just keep wanting to move the field goal post and extend it and keep it open. And so it doesn't matter if you've been awesome for 2.5 months. If you like are okay the last 2 weeks, you can't win, which is just so stupid. Not that anyone's been that awesome for 2.5 months, but that's just how this race goes. Saquon Barkley was minus money early November a few years ago. Other quarterbacks, Tua never won this thing because he didn't win the SEC title game. So for you people that think that Sayan's going to win or Mendoza, you guys are all so wrong. They could win for sure, but this thing is far from over. So I would still look at long shots. Now I've been saying all along, I think Pavia's got a chance. I think he has less of a narrative chance than we thought earlier in the year because the other quarterbacks have sort of been playing better and things like that. But make no mistake, if Diego Pavia, I mean, he said 300 something yards, if they go beat Kentucky at home and then win at Tennessee in the SEC and they have that many wins, he's going to win this thing. Unless someone's crazy good, right? So I still think he's like an okay bet at 20-1. I would not bet any of the 4 favorites at all. Mendoza, like he can win if Indiana doesn't win the Big Ten title game, but you would need him to play well regardless. So I wouldn't take plus 170. Same with Sayin and the Buckeyes. Like he's not really good. Everyone knows it's defense. I mean, I had a pro bettor try to tell me Saturday that Sayin has no shot. I'm like, you realize he might be the favorite on come Monday. Like a pro bettor saying he has no shot, and the guy's a betting favorite. Ty Simpson, I mean, he's right there, right? If he wins the SEC title, could get it by default, but that's why I think Pavia is going to get some more buzz because people don't want to give it to Simpson. Marcel Reed is there, but their defense may. So I think the only guy I would bet right now, no chance with Gunnar Stockton. I don't think Love can get it just because Notre Dame hasn't really beaten anyone. Their 2 losses and then, I mean, King, in a perfect world, King should be getting more buzz, but he's just not getting it. I think Jeremiah Smith, if he has a monster game against Michigan and even against Indiana, I'm telling you, the spotlight, people like being different, all that nonsense, 30-1 is a good bet.
That's the Devonta Smith route, right? It's the Devonta Smith route. Those 2 marquee games to finish off a season. No one's going to care about September and October. He lights up Michigan and Indiana to finish the year. He's going to have a shot. Obviously Sayin would be part of him lighting everyone up, which is the tough part.
And everyone wants – so the award goes to, quote unquote, the most outstanding player in college football. He is better than Sayin and Sayin. So if Ohio State's number 1 and doing well, and he's carrying a freshman, has big games, like just want to remind everyone, Devontae Smith should not have won the Heisman that year, okay? He was not returning punts until mid-October when the regular punt returner got hurt. It's just they didn't want to give it to Mac Jones because they didn't think he looked the part, even though he basically had the same numbers as Joe Burrow. I mean, Mac Jones that year should have won it, but Devontae Smith was great, but he wasn't like Megatron good, you know?
Right.
Jeremiah Smith is regarded as better, you know? So I think Jeremiah Smith can pass the smell test more than I've seen a wide receiver in a long time.
Me and you could probably spend an hour talking about what the Heisman has become in the last 20
Right.
years. It is no longer who's the best player in college football. It is now basically an MVP award, is what the Heisman has become. And it shouldn't be. It should be the most outstanding player, period, no matter what their team's record is in college football. All right, it's time. Best bets here on Betting Weekly Live. 4 daily doubles to finish off last week. We look to keep things rolling. Doug, I went to football Friday night. I'm going back to football tonight because I really like the Eagles in Green Bay against the Packers. So I will put my leg up as Eagles -1 in the best bet department tonight.
All right. So all you need is just to essentially win the game.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to old reliable, fading the Hornets first quarter, but I think it's a good spot. Lakers off a loss. There it looks like Austin Reeves is going to play. The pace that the Hornets want to do, very favorable to this. And no LaMelo. It's just a really good, favorable situation. I think the Lakers are going to be really buttoned up and sharp out of the gates off that loss.
There you go. Daily double tonight, Betting Weekly Live. Eagles -1, Lakers first quarter team total over 30.5. Right in that zone we love to live in, Doug. Plus 242 for the daily double tonight. Let's get it, baby. Let's start the week off on the right way here. We finished it pretty good. We're just going to keep things going. Doug, tremendous job as always. We will see you back here tomorrow where we have, once again, NBA, NHL, a lot of college basketball on Tuesday night. And a Maction Tuesday? Doug's got the Maction already lined up.
Akron is favored, folks. Akron is favored again.
Akron's favored again. We will talk all about it. And of course, we'll start to look ahead to the NFL and the college football for this week. Betting Weekly Live, part of the Betting Weekly Studios, Bet Rivers Network. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian. Have a great night, and we will see you back here tomorrow.